Words of our Divine Mother from the book The Mother, Question and Answers of 1953, Volume 5, page 383, date 9th December 1953. Words of the Mother, 1949 edition of page 221. We are always surrounded by the things of which we think. For this, our Divine Mother says again, this is very important. If you think of nasty things, you will be surrounded by nasty things. And then the words, to go over your ego is not an easy task. Even after overcoming it in the material consciousness, we meet it once more magnified in the spiritual. For this, the question by a sadhak, sweet mother, how can one meet one's ego in the spiritual consciousness? For this, our Divine Mother says, there is a spiritual ego even as there is a physical, vital and mental ego. This is a spiritual ego. There are people who have made a great effort to overcome all their egoism and all their limitations and attained a spiritual consciousness. And there they have all the vanity and the sense of their importance and contempt for those who are not in the same condition as they. Indeed, all that is ridiculous and bad in the ego, they find there once again. There are many like that. They have overcome what was there in the physical or the vital consciousness, but the very effort they have made to master themselves and this victory they have gained give them the sense of their extreme importance, so they become puffed up and assert their authority. This happens so frequently that it is not even noticed. And then words of the Divine Mother in 1949 edition of page 220. I did not understand this. The so-called forces of nature are but the exterior activities of beings out of proportion with man by their size and the powers at their disposal. For this, our Divine Mother says, you didn't understand this? Okay. For instance, take the wind which blows. Now scientists will tell you these are manifestations of forces of nature and it is a result of such and such a phenomenon. They will speak about heat and cold, high and low, etc. And they will tell you that's the cause of the winds blowing. There are currents of air produced in the atmosphere. But it is not this. There are entities behind, only they are so huge that their form eludes us. It would be like you're asking an ant to describe the form of a man. It couldn't, could it? It sees at the most the tiny end of the little finger and it takes a walk on the foot. It is a great journey and it would not know what a man's form would be like. Well, it is almost the same thing. These forces which bring about wind, rain, earthquakes are the manifestations of, call them gestures if you like, of moments of certain beings so formidably huge that we hardly see the end of their foot and don't realize their size. Question by a sadhak, sweet mother, still the spiritual ego is better than the ordinary ego, isn't it? For this, our Divine Mother says, it is much more dangerous than the ordinary one. For one is not aware that it is the ego. Outwardly, when one is egoistic, not only does one knows it oneself, but others make you realize it still more, and circumstances prove it to you every moment. But there, as unfortunately you meet people who respect you highly, you are not even aware that they are terribly egoistic. You are not even aware that you are terribly egoistic. Very dangerous. Spiritual vanity is much more serious than physical vanity. Then the sadhak says, then, sweet mother, with the ego can one realize the divine? For this, our Divine Mother says, not at the moment one unites with him. It is evident at that moment the ego disappears, but what that state does not last. Or, in any case, we can put it in another way. Those who have brought along the ego with them cannot keep the consciousness for long. They become aware of themselves again whilst having the experience. It is that which is more terrible. They look at themselves having the experience and admire themselves, and they feel they are exceptional beings much higher than others, and then that becomes deplorable. And then the sadhak has a question here again. Sweet mother, here you have said, whether thou chooses for me life or death, happiness or sorrow, pleasure or suffering, all that comes to me from thee will be welcome. So does the divine give suffering or sorrow? For that our divine mother says, well, my child, that text, you know what it is? It is Radha's prayer to Krishna. And so, it is so personification of divine forces that one is obliged to extend human feelings to the divine in order to be able to express oneself. To understand it in its true form, a whole long explanation would be required. And then, it is no longer artistic, it becomes dogmatic, or in any case, pedagogic. It is to give the idea that all is in the divine. All is divine, and necessarily, if one changes the state of consciousness, is identified with the divine, that changes the very nature of things. For example, what seemed pain or sorrow or misery, one becomes aware, quite on the contrary, that it is an opportunity for the divines growing closer to you, and that from this event perhaps one may draw a still greater joy than that experience from something satisfying. And then our Divine Mother says, only you must understand it like that, in that spirit, with that consciousness. For otherwise, if taken in the ordinary sense, it is very contradictory of the principle that all is divine. The same thing, exactly the same vibration, according to the way in which it is received and responded to, brings either an intense joy or a considerable despair, exactly the same according to the state of consciousness one is in. So, there is nothing of which it could be said it is a misfortune. There is nothing that could be said called suffering. All that is necessary is to change one's state of consciousness, that is all. If you yourself succeed in changing your state of consciousness and enter this condition of bliss, you can see others still quarreling, fighting, being unhappy, suffering, feeling miserable, and you yourself feel that everything is so harmonious, so wonderful, so sweet, so pleasant, and you say, well, why don't they do what I do? But the trouble is that everybody is not ready to do that. And for those who remain in the ordinary consciousness, for them suffering is something very real. Now, there are people who don't care to be happy all alone and agree to renounce this perfect bliss in order to help others to walk a little farther on the path. Attitudes in the world, attitudes towards virtue are very subjective, and what may succeed with one may not do so with another. And everyone must follow his own path. That is why it is always difficult to say to people, do what I do. This is what all gurus usually say, do as I do and you will reach the goal. All that one may say is, do as I do and you will be like me. And there is a long silence. There's again 3 more pages of this explanation of our Divine Mother. I will continue this in the next video.